Have you ever noticed how two people can face the exact same challenge, yet one sees an opportunity while the other sees a problem? Why is that? Most people believe confidence comes first. They think successful people are naturally positive, fearless, and self-assured. But that's not true. Confidence is not something you're born with. Positivity is not a personality trait. They are both the result of training your mind. Your brain is like a muscle. Whatever you repeatedly think, feel, and focus on becomes stronger. If you constantly feed it doubt, fear, and negativity, that's exactly what grows. But if you train it with purpose, discipline, and the right mindset, you can rewire the way you think, respond, and live. Today, I want to show you how to train your brain to stay positive and confident, even when life gets difficult, even when things don't go your way, and even when that voice inside your head tells you that you're not good enough. Because the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your thinking. And once you learn how to control your mind, you can change your future. Have you ever noticed that the person you talk to the most every single day is yourself? From the moment you wake up until the moment you fall asleep, there is a constant conversation happening inside your mind. Sometimes you are aware of it, and sometimes you are not. But whether you notice it or not, that inner voice is shaping the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. The problem is that many people allow this inner dialogue to operate on autopilot. They never question it. They never challenge it. They simply accept every thought that enters their mind as if it were a fact. When something goes wrong, the voice says, "You are not good enough." When they face a challenge, it says, "You will probably fail." When they make a mistake, it says, "You always mess things up." Over time, these thoughts become beliefs, and those beliefs begin to define their reality. What makes this dangerous is that your brain is constantly listening to the words you repeat to yourself. It does not always distinguish between what is true and what is repeated. If you tell yourself often enough that you are weak, your mind starts looking for evidence that supports that belief. If you constantly focus on your limitations, your brain becomes skilled at finding reasons why you cannot succeed. The more you repeat a thought, the stronger that mental pathway becomes. Imagine planting seeds in a garden. Every thought you think is a seed. Some seeds grow into confidence, courage, and resilience. Others grow into fear, doubt, and negativity. The garden does not choose which seeds to grow. It simply responds to what is planted repeatedly. Your mind works in a similar way. Whatever thoughts you consistently nurture become stronger over time. This is why mastering your inner dialogue is one of the most important skills you can develop. Positive thinking is not about pretending that problems do not exist. It is not about ignoring reality or convincing yourself that everything is perfect. It is about learning to speak to yourself in a way that helps you grow instead of holding you back. Think about how you would encourage a close friend who is struggling. You would not constantly remind them of their failures. You would not tell them they are hopeless or incapable. You would offer support, perspective, and encouragement. Yet many people speak to themselves in ways they would never speak to another human being. They become their own harshest critic. The first step toward changing your inner dialogue is becoming aware of it. You cannot change a pattern you do not recognize. Pay attention to the words you use when facing challenges. Notice what happens after a mistake. Observe the thoughts that appear when you step outside your comfort zone. Awareness creates the opportunity for change. When a negative thought appears, do not automatically accept it. Question it. Ask yourself whether it is actually true. Often, you will discover that the thought is based on fear rather than fact. A single failure does not make you a failure. A setback does not mean you are incapable. One difficult moment does not define your future. Many people spend years believing stories that are not true simply because they have repeated them so many times. They say things like, I am not confident, I am not smart enough, or I am not talented. These statements feel real because they have been rehearsed repeatedly. But confidence is not something people are born with. It is something they build through action, experience, and belief. Your words influence your emotions. Your emotions influence your actions. Your actions influence your results. This means that changing the way you talk to yourself can eventually change the direction of your life. When your inner voice says, I cannot do this, your motivation drops. When it says, this is difficult, but I can learn, your mindset shifts. The challenge remains the same, but your response becomes different. Successful people are not successful because they never experience self-doubt. They experience doubt just like everyone else. The difference is that they do not allow doubt to become the dominant voice in their minds. They learn to replace destructive thoughts with empowering ones. They train themselves to focus on possibilities instead of limitations. Every day, your brain is collecting evidence to support the beliefs you hold about yourself. If you constantly focus on your weaknesses, your mind will continue finding proof of them. If you start focusing on your strengths, progress, and potential, your brain begins gathering evidence in that direction instead. This does not happen overnight. It requires consistency. Just as negative thinking becomes a habit through repetition, positive and confident thinking becomes a habit through repetition as well. The goal is not to eliminate every negative thought. That is impossible. The goal is to prevent negative thoughts from controlling your identity. A thought is just a thought. It does not become reality unless you choose to believe it. You have the power to decide which thoughts deserve your attention and which ones deserve to be ignored. Every time you challenge a limiting belief, you weaken its influence. Every time you replace self-criticism with self-respect, you strengthen your confidence. Every time you choose a constructive thought over a destructive one, you train your brain to respond differently. These small mental choices may seem insignificant in the moment, but over weeks, months, and years, they create profound changes in the way you see yourself and the world around you. Your inner dialogue is shaping your future right now. The question is whether it is building you up or holding you back. One of the biggest reasons people feel overwhelmed, stressed, and discouraged is because they spend too much time focusing on things they cannot control. They worry about what other people think of them. They worry about the future. They worry about unexpected problems, circumstances, and outcomes that have not even happened yet. As a result, their energy becomes scattered, their confidence begins to fade, and their minds become filled with unnecessary negativity. Think about how much time people spend replaying events from the past. They analyze mistakes they cannot change. They regret decisions that have already been made. They wish things had happened differently. The problem is that no amount of worry can rewrite yesterday. No amount of frustration can change what has already happened. Yet many people continue carrying the weight of the past as if they can somehow alter it through endless thinking. At the same time, many people become trapped by the future. They imagine worst-case scenarios. They create problems in their minds that do not exist in reality. They ask themselves questions like, what if I fail? What if things go wrong? What if people judge me? These thoughts generate fear and anxiety, even though the events they are worried about may never happen. When you focus on things outside your control, you give away your power. You become a passenger in your own life instead of the driver. Your emotions begin depending on circumstances, other people's opinions, and external events. This creates a constant feeling of uncertainty because the world around you is always changing. The truth is that there will always be things you cannot control. You cannot control the weather. You cannot control every challenge that appears in your life. You cannot control how other people behave. You cannot control what others think, say, or believe. You cannot control every opportunity you receive or every obstacle you face. Trying to control these things is like trying to stop the wind with your hands. The people who develop lasting confidence understand a simple principle. They stop wasting energy on what they cannot control and start investing their energy in what they can control. Instead of focusing on outcomes, they focus on effort. Instead of obsessing over opinions, they focus on character. Instead of worrying about circumstances, they focus on their response to those circumstances. Imagine two people facing the exact same challenge. One person spends hours complaining about how unfair the situation is. They focus on everything that is beyond their influence. The other person asks a different question. They ask, what can I do right now? That simple shift changes everything. One person remains stuck because their attention is directed toward problems they cannot solve. The other begins making progress because their attention is directed toward actions they can take. Confidence grows when you recognize your ability to influence your own behavior. You may not control the result, but you can control your preparation. You may not control whether everyone supports you, but you can control your attitude. You may not control every opportunity that comes your way, but you can control how ready you are when opportunities appear. This mindset becomes especially important during difficult times. Challenges often create a sense of helplessness. When things do not go according to plan, people start focusing on everything that is going wrong. Their minds become consumed by circumstances they cannot change. The more they focus on those circumstances, the more powerless they feel. But even in the most difficult situations, there is usually something within your control. You can control your effort. You can control your mindset. You can control your decisions. You can control how you treat others. You can control whether you choose to learn from adversity or become defeated by it. Many successful individuals have faced obstacles that seemed impossible to overcome. They encountered rejection, failure, criticism, and setbacks. What separated them from others was not the absence of challenges. It was their ability to focus on what they could influence instead of becoming consumed by what they could not. Consider how much mental energy is wasted worrying about other people's opinions. Many people spend years trying to gain approval from everyone around them. They hesitate to pursue their goals because they fear criticism. They avoid opportunities because they worry about judgment. The reality is that no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. If your confidence depends on universal approval, you will spend your life chasing something impossible. And true confidence comes from knowing that your value is not determined by other people's reactions. It comes from focusing on your actions, your principles, and your growth. When you stop trying to control how everyone perceives you, you gain the freedom to become who you are meant to be. Your focus acts like a spotlight. Wherever you direct it becomes larger in your mind. If you constantly shine that spotlight on problems outside your control, those problems will appear overwhelming. If you direct it toward your actions, choices, and opportunities, your sense of empowerment begins to grow. This does not mean ignoring challenges or pretending difficulties do not exist. It means accepting reality while concentrating on what you can actually influence. Acceptance is not weakness. Acceptance is clarity. It allows you to stop fighting battles you cannot win and start making progress where progress is possible. Every day presents countless situations that test this principle. Traffic delays, criticism, unexpected setbacks, economic conditions, and other people's behavior are often outside your control. Your reaction to those situations remains entirely within your control. That reaction determines whether you move forward with confidence or become trapped in frustration. The more you practice focusing on what you can control, the stronger your mindset becomes. You begin spending less time worrying and more time acting. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start recognizing your ability to influence your own path. Your energy becomes directed toward growth instead of fear, toward action instead of anxiety, and toward progress instead of endless concern about things that were never yours to control in the first place. Many people believe confidence appears suddenly. They imagine that one day they will wake up feeling fearless, self-assured, and ready to take on any challenge. They think confidence is something you either have or you do not have. Because of this belief, they spend years waiting for confidence before taking action. They tell themselves they will start that project when they feel more confident. They will speak up when they feel more confident. They will pursue their goals when they feel more confident. The reality is exactly the opposite. Confidence does not come before action. Confidence comes because of action. It is built through experience, repetition, and evidence. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, every time you complete a task, and every time you overcome a challenge, you send a message to your brain that says, I can do difficult things. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they need huge achievements to feel confident. They look at successful individuals and assume confidence comes from major accomplishments, recognition, or extraordinary talent. What they often fail to see are the countless small victories that happened long before the big success arrived. Confidence is built one small win at a time. It grows through consistent actions that prove to yourself that you are capable, disciplined, and resilient. Small wins may seem insignificant in the moment, but they create momentum. They create evidence. They create belief. Imagine someone who wants to become physically stronger. They do not walk into a gym and immediately lift the heaviest weights. They start with manageable weights and gradually improve over time. Each successful workout strengthens not only their muscles, but also their belief in their ability to improve. The same principle applies to confidence. You do not develop confidence by attempting impossible tasks right away. You develop it by achieving small victories that gradually expand your comfort zone. Your brain is constantly collecting evidence about who you are. Every action you take contributes to that evidence. When you repeatedly avoid challenges, your brain begins to associate you with fear and hesitation. When you consistently take small positive actions, your brain begins associating you with courage and capability. This is why even the smallest commitments matter. Waking up when you said you would wake up matters. Finishing a task you promised yourself you would complete matters. Following through on a goal matters. These actions may appear minor from the outside, but they have a powerful effect on your self-image. Many people underestimate the importance of keeping promises to themselves. They understand the value of being reliable for others, but they often ignore their own commitments. Every time they break a promise to themselves, they weaken trust in their own abilities. Over time, this creates doubt. They begin questioning whether they can follow through on anything meaningful. Building confidence requires rebuilding that trust. Start with commitments small enough that success becomes likely. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency. Each completed action becomes proof that you are someone who follows through. Each small win strengthens the foundation of confidence. Think about a person learning a new skill. In the beginning, they struggle. Their performance is imperfect. Mistakes are frequent. If they focus only on how far they still have to go, discouragement quickly appears. But if they focus on small improvements, motivation increases. They begin recognizing progress. They see evidence that effort is producing results. Small wins create momentum because success generates energy. When people experience progress, they become more motivated to continue. One positive action often leads to another. One completed task encourages the next. Momentum transforms effort from something difficult into something natural. Many people become trapped because they set goals that are too large and too distant. They focus entirely on the final destination and ignore the smaller milestones along the way. As a result, they feel overwhelmed. The gap between where they are and where they want to be appears enormous. Confidence decreases because the goal feels impossible. Breaking goals into smaller steps changes everything. Instead of focusing on climbing the entire mountain, focus on taking the next step. Instead of worrying about becoming an expert, focus on becoming slightly better today than you were yesterday. Progress becomes manageable. Success becomes measurable. Confidence begins growing naturally. The human mind responds strongly to achievement. Every completed task releases a sense of accomplishment. Every goal reached reinforces positive beliefs. This process creates a cycle. Achievement increases confidence. Increased confidence encourages action. Action creates more achievement. The cycle continues strengthening over time. Fear often convinces people they need certainty before they act. They want guarantees that everything will work out. They want proof that they will succeed. Unfortunately, life rarely provides those guarantees. Confidence is not the absence of uncertainty. It is the willingness to move forward despite uncertainty. Small wins help reduce fear because they provide evidence that challenges can be handled. A person who successfully navigates one difficult situation becomes more prepared for the next. Experience creates familiarity. Familiarity reduces intimidation. Confidence grows because the unknown becomes less threatening. This process can be applied to every area of life. If public speaking feels intimidating, start by speaking in smaller groups. If fitness feels overwhelming, begin with a short daily workout. If starting a business seems impossible, focus on completing one small task at a time. The objective is not dramatic transformation overnight. The objective is steady progress that accumulates over time. The most confident people are not necessarily the most talented. They are often the people who have accumulated the greatest number of small victories. They have repeatedly shown themselves that they can learn, adapt, and improve. Their confidence is not built on hope. It is built on evidence gathered through consistent action. Every small win becomes a brick in the foundation of self-belief. Every challenge faced becomes proof of resilience. Every commitment honored strengthens trust in yourself. Day after day, these seemingly ordinary actions combine to create extraordinary confidence. What begins as a single step eventually becomes a pattern. What begins as a small victory eventually becomes a powerful belief that no challenge is too great to face and no goal is too distant to pursue with determination and persistence. The way you see the world has a powerful influence on the way you experience it. Two people can face the same situation, encounter the same obstacle, and live through the same circumstances, yet walk away with completely different perspectives. One person sees limitations, problems, and reasons to quit. The other sees lessons, possibilities, and opportunities to grow. The difference is not always the situation itself. The difference is often the mindset through which the situation is viewed. Your brain is constantly interpreting the events around you. It takes information from your experiences and creates meaning from it. The challenge is that the brain naturally pays more attention to threats, dangers, and negative experiences. This tendency helped our ancestors survive because recognizing danger was essential for protection. But in modern life, this same tendency can cause people to focus excessively on problems while overlooking opportunities. Many people become trapped in negative thinking patterns without realizing it. When something goes wrong, they immediately assume the worst. A setback becomes proof that they are not capable. A rejection becomes evidence that they should give up. A mistake becomes confirmation that they are not good enough. Over time, this way of thinking creates a mental habit where every challenge appears larger than it actually is. Training your mind to see opportunities begins with understanding that every situation contains multiple perspectives. What appears to be a problem at first glance may also contain a lesson, a hidden advantage, or a chance to improve. This does not mean every experience is pleasant. It means every experience has something valuable to teach if you are willing to look for it. Consider how many successful people have faced failure before achieving their goals. At the time, those failures likely felt disappointing and frustrating. Yet many later realized that those setbacks taught them skills, discipline, and resilience they would never have developed otherwise. What initially looked like an obstacle eventually became part of their success story. The human mind often asks questions automatically. The quality of those questions determines the quality of your thinking. When something difficult happens, many people ask questions like, "Why does this always happen to me?" Or, "Why am I so unlucky?" These questions direct the brain toward negativity. The mind immediately begins searching for evidence to support those assumptions. A more empowering approach is to ask different questions. Instead of asking why something bad happened, ask what can be learned from the experience. Instead of focusing on what was lost, focus on what can still be gained. Instead of asking why a challenge exists, ask how it can help you grow stronger. The brain responds to the questions you give it. Better questions often lead to better answers. Opportunities rarely appear in obvious forms. Most people imagine opportunities as perfect circumstances, ideal timing, and easy pathways to success. Real opportunities often arrive disguised as hard work, uncertainty, and unexpected challenges, because they do not look the way people expect. They are frequently overlooked. Think about someone who loses a job. The immediate reaction may be fear and disappointment. Those emotions are understandable. Yet for some people, that experience becomes the motivation to develop new skills, pursue a different career path, or start a business they had always dreamed about. The event itself is difficult, but the way it is interpreted determines whether it becomes a dead end or a turning point. This shift in perspective requires practice, because negative thinking habits do not disappear overnight. The brain tends to follow familiar pathways. If you have spent years focusing on problems, your mind will naturally continue doing so unless you consciously train it to think differently. Just as physical exercise strengthens muscles, mental exercise strengthens your ability to recognize possibilities. One effective way to develop this mindset is by focusing on what remains available instead of what has been taken away. When people encounter setbacks, they often become consumed by what they have lost. Their attention narrows, making it difficult to recognize alternatives. By deliberately looking for options, resources, and possibilities, they expand their perspective. Another important part of seeing opportunities is learning to separate temporary circumstances from permanent conclusions. And many people experience a setback and immediately assume their future has been determined. They treat a single moment as if it defines the rest of their lives. In reality, most challenges are temporary. They are chapters, not the entire story. Confidence grows when you understand that difficulties do not have the final say. Every challenge contains choices. Every obstacle presents decisions. Every setback creates opportunities to respond with courage, creativity, and persistence. Recognizing these possibilities transforms the way you approach life. People who consistently see opportunities are not ignoring reality. They acknowledge problems just as everyone else does. The difference is that they refuse to stop at the problem. They train themselves to keep looking beyond it. They search for lessons, solutions, and possibilities. This habit allows them to move forward while others remain stuck. Your focus acts like a filter. Whatever you consistently look for becomes easier to find. If you constantly search for reasons why something cannot work, you will find them. If you consistently search for possibilities and solutions, you will find those as well. The opportunities were often there all along. The difference lies in where your attention is directed. Every day presents countless moments to practice the skill. Unexpected changes, disappointments, criticism, mistakes, and challenges all provide opportunities to choose your perspective. You can view them as barriers that stop your progress, or you can view them as experiences that contribute to your growth. The choice may not always be easy, but it is always powerful. When you train your brain to see opportunities, you begin approaching life with greater optimism and resilience. Problems become puzzles to solve rather than reasons to quit. Challenges become chances to improve rather than proof of inadequacy. Uncertainty becomes a space for possibility rather than a source of fear. Your mind becomes conditioned to look for what can be gained, what can be learned, and what can be created from every situation you encounter. Many people want to feel positive and confident, but they approach it as if positivity and confidence are emotions that appear whenever they are needed. They wait for motivation to arrive. They hope confidence will suddenly show up before an important challenge. They expect positivity to remain strong regardless of what they do each day. The truth is that confidence and positivity are not built by occasional moments of inspiration. They are built by consistent daily habits. Your life is largely shaped by what you repeatedly do. Small actions performed every day have a greater impact than occasional bursts of effort. Just as a single workout does not create physical fitness, a single positive thought does not create a positive mindset. The habits you practice consistently determine the direction of your thinking and the quality of your confidence. Every day, your brain is being programmed. The information you consume, the people you spend time with, the thoughts you entertain, and the actions you repeat all influence your mental condition. Whether you realize it or not, you are constantly training your mind. The question is whether you are training it to become stronger or weaker. Imagine waking up every morning and immediately filling your mind with negativity. You scroll through endless bad news, compare yourself to others, focus on your problems, and remind yourself of everything that could go wrong. Over time, These habits create a mental environment where positivity struggles to survive. The brain adapts to whatever it experiences repeatedly. If negativity becomes a daily routine, negative thinking becomes automatic. On the other hand, when you intentionally create habits that strengthen your mindset, your brain begins adapting in a different direction. You start building mental resilience. You become more optimistic. You develop greater emotional control. Most importantly, you create a foundation of confidence that does not depend entirely on circumstances. One of the most powerful habits you can develop is controlling what enters your mind. Just as your body reflects the food you consume, your mind reflects the information you consume. If you constantly feed your mind fear, criticism, and negativity, those influences eventually shape your beliefs. If you expose yourself to ideas that inspire growth, learning, and possibility, your thinking begins moving in the same direction. The people around you also play a significant role in shaping your mindset. Human beings naturally absorb attitudes and behaviors from their environment. If you spend most of your time around people who complain, criticize, and focus on limitations, it becomes difficult to maintain a positive perspective. Their thinking gradually influences your own. When you surround yourself with people who encourage growth, accountability, and optimism, their mindset begins influencing you as well. Another important daily habit is practicing gratitude. Many people assume gratitude is simply about being thankful. In reality, gratitude is a powerful mental exercise. It trains your brain to notice what is working instead of focusing exclusively on what is missing. Most people naturally focus on problems because problems demand attention. Gratitude intentionally redirects attention toward positive aspects of life that are often overlooked. When you regularly acknowledge the good things in your life, your brain becomes better at recognizing them. This does not mean ignoring difficulties. It means refusing to allow difficulties to become the only thing you see. Gratitude expands your perspective and creates a healthier mental balance. Physical activity is another habit that directly influences positivity and confidence. The connection between the body and mind is stronger than many people realize. Movement affects energy, mood, focus, and emotional well-being. Regular exercise sends a message to your brain that you are investing in yourself. It creates a sense of accomplishment and strengthens self-respect. Many people underestimate the confidence that comes from simply doing difficult things consistently. Every workout completed, every challenge accepted, and every goal pursued reinforces the belief that you are capable of growth. Confidence is strengthened when actions align with intentions. The habit of keeping promises to yourself is equally important. Every day presents opportunities to either strengthen or weaken self-trust. When you repeatedly set goals and fail to follow through, your confidence begins to erode. Your brain notices the inconsistency. It becomes harder to believe in yourself because your actions are contradicting your intentions. When you consistently honor your commitments, even small ones, trust begins to grow. You start viewing yourself as someone who follows through. This self-trust becomes the foundation of genuine confidence. It is not based on external validation or temporary success. It is based on evidence created through repeated action. Reflection is another habit that helps strengthen positivity and confidence. Most people move through life without taking time to evaluate their progress. They focus on what still needs to be accomplished while ignoring how far they have already come. Reflection allows you to recognize growth, learn from mistakes, and adjust your direction when necessary. Without reflection, valuable lessons are often missed. Challenges become sources of frustration rather than opportunities for learning. Reflection transforms experiences into wisdom. It helps you understand what is working, what needs improvement, and how you can continue moving forward. Consistency matters more than intensity. Many people become excited about change and attempt to transform their lives overnight. They create unrealistic expectations and demand immediate results. When progress feels slower than expected, they become discouraged and quit. Lasting positivity and confidence are not built through extreme effort performed occasionally. They are built through simple habits repeated consistently over time. Every positive habit functions like a vote for the person you want to become. Each encouraging thought, each productive action, each healthy decision, and each commitment honored contributes to your identity. The effects may seem small on a given day, but they accumulate. Day after day, week after week, these habits reshape the way you think, feel, and respond to life. Your brain is always adapting. It learns from repetition. It strengthens whatever patterns are practiced most often. When you deliberately create habits that encourage growth, gratitude, discipline, and resilience, you train your mind to become more positive and confident. Those habits eventually become automatic, transforming not only your thoughts, but also the way you approach challenges, opportunities, relationships, and every experience that becomes part of your journey.